Hello, today we are going to perform experiment number 3, that is to determine the frequency and wavelength in rectangular waveguide working on TE10 mode. So we know about rectangular waveguide. This is its broader dimension and this is its narrower dimension. So first of all, let us calculate the broader dimension as well as the narrower dimensions of the rectangular waveguide available in our laboratory. So we are going to calculate its value, this value as well as this value. So let us calculate these values. Let me put a scale over here. The value is 2.4 centimeter. So I am writing it over here. The value for the broader dimension is 2.4 centimeter. Similarly, we will calculate the value for the narrower dimension. The value for that is 1.1 centimeter. So I am writing it over here as 1.1 centimeter. So this is the rectangular waveguide available in our laboratory. Now this rectangular waveguide we are going to use for TE10 mode. So what is TE10 mode? TE10 mode means I am having M as value 1 and N as value 0. So M means number of half cycle toward the broader dimension. So I will write or I will draw it like this. So this is my TE10 mode. So this is my half cycle that is varying along the broader dimension, and here I can say that my value of M is equal to 1 and N is equal to 0. So this thing we are going to perform using our microwave test bench. So this mode we are going to give input to our microwave test bench.
So our aim is to determine frequency and wavelength in a rectangular waveguide working in TE10 mode. So to determine that we require this lambda g, we have to substitute our values, that is lambda g, lambda c in this equation, that is 1 upon lambda 0 is equal to under root 1 upon lambda g square plus 1 upon lambda c square. Now the question arises, what is this lambda g and lambda c? Lambda we know that it is a wavelength, but what is this lambda g? So if wave is propagating in a free space, then it will have a different velocity, and that velocity is 3 into 10⁸ meter per second. But once the wave is propagating inside some guided media, the velocity will change. So correspondingly the wavelength will be called guided wavelength. It will be less than the frequency, it will be less than the wave which is traveling in a free space. So that wavelength is called guided wavelength, and second wavelength, that is called cutoff wavelength, that we will see later. So this is our cutoff wavelength and lambda g is guided wavelength. Now to measure the guided wavelength, we will do experiment. So let me make this in a default mode. So whenever you will start any experiment in this workbench, first of all you have to ensure that all the knobs are at minimum position. So this will be voltage is equal to 0 and current will be 0. Next we have to ensure that this voltage, whenever you will change this voltage should never be greater than 9 volt, otherwise it may damage our gun oscillator circuitry. So first we will vary this voltage by using this gun bias, and we will start varying this, and we will keep this around 7 volt. So current will be around 0.15 ampere. So I am changing this. Now voltage is changing, you can see it should be around 7 volt, it should never exceed 9 volt. So let us set this is 7.42 volt. Once it is set, the second thing is we have to select mode. Now there are 4 different modes we have already seen. There is audio signal, then continuous wave mode, then we are having PC mode, audio mode, and internal mode. In internal mode, this gun power supply will generate a internally generated rectangular waveform, and this waveform will be transmitted. This will be given to the pin modulator, and pin modulator will modulate and it will transmit. So, once this is done, the next thing is one more thing. You can see that I have done all the setting of voltage for gun diode. Then also there is no variation of, there is no signal at the output in an oscilloscope screen. So, we have to make one more setting, that we have to give this, we have generated the signal, but we have not given this signal to this pin modulator. So, in order to give signal to pin modulator, we have to apply this pin bias voltage. Once the pin bias voltage is given to pin modulator, then it will accept the signal and it will start modulating. Right now the pin modulator is not receiving any voltage because we have kept this knob at minimum position. Now I will vary the knob, and you can see that once I start varying this knob, it appears that the voltage will, or you can say the rectangular wave will appears in an oscilloscope screen. So, our kit is working properly. What we have done is we have given power supply, that is the base bias voltage to both the diode, gun oscillator as well as pin modulator. Once we have done setting in power supply, the next thing is we want to find out the lambda g. So, the lambda g can be found out by using this slotted waveguide section. So, we are having a waveguide where we are having this sloped, that is why this is called as slotted waveguide section, and we will measure the distance by using this scale, and we can vary the position of, this is called probe. From the probe we are measuring, we are giving this to oscilloscope. So, the probe will detect the signal, we are having detector here, we are having pin demodulator here, pin diode will be there, it will demodulate the signal, and once again we are getting the same signal that we have transmitted from the gun power supply. We have seen in transmission line problem, whenever this load impedance does not equal to the characteristic impedance of line, then the wave which is going in forward direction, these are our travelling wave, and because of mismatch, that is Z0 is not equal to ZL, there will be mismatch in a load, and this whatever voltage going in forward direction will be reflected back. Now there are two travelling wave inside our waveguide or our transmission line. One is going in forward direction and second one is going in backward direction. So these two wave will add at each and every point in a transmission line. So because of this addition, a standing wave kind of a pattern will form along a transmission line. So somewhere it will have a minimum voltage because of the addition, the signal will be out of phase, so there will be subtraction of a signal and there will be minima, and at some location there will be maxima. So when we'll move our probe along the transmission line or our slotted line section like this one, we can find out that the voltage level will change in the oscilloscope. So whatever we are receiving, the voltage level at each and every location will be different. And one more thing we have found out in a transmission line, that the distance between two minima or two maxima will be equal to lambda g by 4. So sorry, lambda g by 2. The distance between two maxima or minima will be equal to lambda g by 2. So we'll, in this practical, what we'll do is we'll move our probe, and we'll find out this distance, that is d2 and d1, using this scale. We'll measure scale where we are having a different location of minima. So let us start this. I will move from the end and I will move, or we can do other way around. We can move from left to right, or we can move from right to left, whatever will be there. So I am moving from load end towards source. So it will be scale from 6, 7, 8, 9 and so on. So we'll start, we'll move our probe in a slotted waveguide section, and we'll see the amplitude of this signal which we are receiving, you can see that there is variation in signal. The amplitude is increasing. Now it is decreasing. We want to find out location of two successive minima to find out lambda g. You can see the amplitude are gradually decreasing. Once again it will start, it is increasing, so we will find out the position where the amplitude is minimum. So this is the location where amplitude is minimum. So you can see that when I am moving my probe in a slotted waveguide, so the amplitude of signal is changing at each and every location. At some location it is, you can see now amplitude is decreasing, and still I am moving this probe, amplitude level is now increasing. It will increase and once again it will start decreasing still if I will move. So you can see the amplitude level start decreasing. Now what we have to do is, we will take two positions where our amplitude is minimum. So these are the two locations. We will find out two minima, and from that we can find out lambda g. So we will see, let me move from left to right. So I am moving from left to right, and we will find out the minimum location. The signal amplitude is decreasing. It is once again increasing. So this is the position where I am having a minimum amplitude. So we'll mark this point. This is our you can see this is between 13 and 14. Since I am moving along this direction, so this will be my 14 point, this 0 is coinciding at 14.6. and if you want still more precision, then we have to find out where out of this 0 to 10 where we are having a this scale where we are coinciding. So we'll take this as a 14.6. This is our 14.6, and we are moving from left to right. So our scale is changing from 14, 13, 12, 11 and so on. So our first reading will be at this 14.3, and still I am moving in this direction. So next reading will be 13 or 12, whatever it will be. So in our equation we have substituted this d1 is equal to 14.6. Next we want to find out the location of second minima, consecutive minima we want to find out. So once again I will move my probe in a slotted waveguide section such a way that we will have a next minima. You can see the signal amplitude is increasing. Still it is increasing. Now it start decreasing. We'll move further, and this is the location where amplitude is minimum. So we'll mark this point. This is the point. This you can see that once again this is 12.6. We are moving from left to right, so our d2 will be 12.6. So I will write in our equation this d2 will be equal to 12.6 centimeter. Now you have to do this calculation we have found out D2 and D1. So you have to find out lambda g, you have to substitute D2 and D1 here, and you have to find out lambda g. So this is how we will get lambda g. Still we want lambda c, that is called cutoff wavelength. So cutoff wavelength will be calculated using this equation, that is lambda c is equal to 2ab divided by under root mb square plus na whole square. Already.
So here, what is the value for m? We have already calculated that the value of m is equal to 1. As we are using TE10 in our rectangular waveguide, so we will put m equal to 1. So in this equation, what I will do, I know the value of a already. So what is the value of a? We have already calculated the value of a, that is equal to 2.4 centimeter. We know the value of b, already we have calculated the value of b, that is equal to 1.1 centimeter. And that is divided by, what is the value of m? M is equal to 1, so we will write down over here 1.1 square, and value of n is equal to 0, so we will keep this n is equal to 0. So the answer is 2 multiplied by 2.4 into 1.1 divided by 1.1. So 1.1 cancel, and answer will be 4.8 centimeter. So overall, or I can write down that my lambda c for TE10 mode. Okay, by my lambda c for TE10 mode, what I will write, that for TE10 mode, lambda c is equal to 2ab divided by under root of mb square plus na square. So for TE10 mode, what I will write? I will write down the value for m and n. So I will write down value for m equal to 1, that is b square, n equal to 0, so this will become 0. So this equation becomes twice ab divided by b. So for TE10 mode, my lambda c is equal to twice times my broader dimension, and that is what we have calculated, and that value is equal to 2 into 2.4. So my answer is 4.8 centimeter. Now we find out the value of lambda c. We have already found out. From the slotted section value, we already found out the value of lambda g, that is d1 minus d2, the difference of d1 and d2 multiplied by 2. The answer is 4 centimeter. Make sure the units must be there. Okay, so we are putting these values into this equation, and then we are going to find out lambda 0 for our answer, and that answer will be in centimeters. Once we got lambda 0, what we will going to do, we will calculate frequency value. Okay, so frequency is equal to c divided by lambda 0. So this is the frequency which has been generated by the gun oscillator. So this is our microwave frequency which has been generated. So we are going to calculate this frequency, and whatever answer we are getting, we are finding out using the first method.
We'll find out the frequency of operation by using direct frequency readout meter. This is our direct frequency readout meter, which is based on cavity. So this is the cavity. So what we'll do is, we have to see this amplitude level. So we will vary the position of, we'll rotate this knob, and we can see that this line is going upward. It means it is changing its cavity size. We are changing the size of cavity. So if this cavity will have a resonant frequency, then there will be change in the amplitude level. It will have a change only whenever this cavity will resonate. So at all other frequency we do not have any change in this signal, while at only single frequency, when this cavity is resonating, we will notice the change in this amplitude level. So we have to find out that point by rotating this knob in a direct frequency readout meter. So I am slowly changing. You have to constantly watch in this screen we have to see whether the amplitude is changing or not. So I will rotate this slowly, and at one location the amplitude variation will be there, and that location is our resonant frequency. So I am slowly changing it. You can see at this location we are having change in amplitude level. All other location we do not have any change, but at this location there is change in location. So we'll find out this is the resonant frequency of this cavity meter, or you can say this is where the resonance will take place. So in order to find out the frequency, you can see there is one vertical line, red color line, and there are two horizontal line. This is the vertical line and there are two horizontal line. So we have to see in between these two horizontal line and this vertical line where they are intersecting. So we can see that it is around, there are 2.1 is 10.05 and 09. So 10.0, so you can see that the division is of 0.02 and this point corresponds to 10.09. So this is our frequency which we have calculated using direct readout frequency meter.
So using frequency meter, what we get? We get the value as 10.09 and the unit is gigahertz. Fine. So this value we are going to use in our observation table. So we'll use one observation table, and in this observation table we are going to calculate the cutoff frequency using the direct measurement. That means using this value. So we are putting this value over here as it is 10.09 gigahertz, and using the slotted waveguide means whatever the calculation we have done using this, whatever the answer we are getting using this, so on that basis we are going to calculate the frequency, and that frequency we are going to write it over here, and you have to compare whether these two frequencies are same or not.
Conclusion on it.
So after writing the observation table, you have to give the conclusion of this experiment, whatever you have studied inside this experiment. So you have to write down the conclusions, and thereafter your experiment is over. Thank you.